She once shared a laugh with her friends. I would never allow him to meet my family, he's just too much to handle. I overheard it from the other room. I didn't argue, I simply waited. That weekend, she discovered what true embarrassment really meant. You never expect it to happen to you. You read these stories online and think, no way. People aren't really like that. You believe you would notice the signs. You think you'd understand. I'm here to say that you can be right in the middle of it, experiencing it firsthand, and have no clue until the ground crumbles beneath you. For me, that moment came on a Tuesday night. Let me start from the start. My name is Matt. I'm 38 years old. I run a landscaping and custom outdoor construction business. I began with an old pickup and a used lawnmower at 22. Now I have 3 teams, a fleet of vehicles, and we create everything from upscale patios to intricate water features. I'm not a high-maintenance guy. My hands are rough, and I usually have some dirt under my nails, no matter how thoroughly I clean. But I take pride in what I've accomplished. It's real. It's mine. For the past 4 years, my life has revolved around Amelia. She's 32, stunning, intelligent, and works in PR. We met through a mutual friend, and I fell for her hard. She was everything I thought I wasn't. Refined, sophisticated, she knew which wine to choose and which fork to use. I thought she complimented me. I believed we were a team. We got engaged 6 months ago. She was the one who insisted we both wear engagement rings. She'd read an article about it being a modern symbol of equality in a relationship. It felt a bit odd to me. It's not something common for men in the US, but it mattered to her. She said it showed the world we were equally committed. So, I wore the simple platinum band that she and her friends helped her select, and I felt proud. The diamond I bought for her was a different matter. It was classic, beautiful, and cost more than my first truck. I didn't mind. I wanted her to have the best. The challenge, if you could call it that, was always our backgrounds. I came from a regular middle-class family. My father was a mechanic, my mother a teacher's aide. We were content. Amelia's family, on the other hand, was what one might call old money. Her father is a surgeon, and her mother runs a charity. They live in a different realm, a world of country clubs, yachts, and summer homes. I had met her parents a few times. They were always courteous, but there was a kind of polite detachment, as if they were studying an unusual plant I had brought into their garden. I was never invited to their large family gatherings or festive occasions. Amelia always had an excuse. Oh, it's just a dull family thing. You'd be bored. Or my aunt is visiting, and she can be overwhelming. I want to spare you from that. I trusted her. I thought she was being thoughtful. I thought she was protecting me from their judgment. I was naive. The moment of realization came last Tuesday. Amelia was having her 2 closest friends, Chloe and Isabella, over for drinks. They were her bridesmaids. I was in my home office, right next to the living room, finishing some invoices. The walls are thin. They had a few bottles of wine, and their voices started to rise, their laughter became sharper. I was trying to tune them out when I heard Chloe ask, "So, is your mom's 60th birthday party this weekend still the big family reveal for Matt?" There was a pause, and then I heard Amelia laugh. It wasn't her usual cheerful laugh. It was a sharp, dismissive sound. "God, no," she said, her voice oozing disdain. "Can you imagine? I'd never let him meet my extended family. He's too embarrassing." The words struck me like a physical blow. I literally stopped breathing. Embarrassing me. Isabella chimed in, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "You have to, sweetie. You can't keep him hidden forever. What would he even discuss with your Uncle Robert?" Mulch. They all erupted in laughter. It felt as if they were in the room with me, pointing and laughing right in my face. I know, Amelia said, catching her breath. "I'm working on a plan. The goal is to get the wedding done, secure him, and then groom him slowly. He's a good provider. You just have to smooth out the rough spots. Or trade up," Chloe chimed in, and they laughed again. I didn't hear anything after that. A roaring sound filled my ears. All the air had been sucked from the room. I wasn't her partner. I was a project, a fixer-upper, a secret to be managed. The man she was going to marry was too embarrassing to meet her family. I didn't storm out. I didn't confront them. I just sat there in the dark, my hands resting on my keyboard, and something within me shifted. The hurt was there, a deep, crushing weight. But beneath it, something else was forming, something cold, hard, and clear. She had just given me a blueprint of how she viewed me, our relationship, and our future. She thought I was a simple man. She was about to discover how mistaken she was. I waited until I heard them leave. Then I closed my laptop and began making my own plan. If she wanted to be embarrassed, fine. I would give her an experience she would never forget. Update 1. The 24 hours after I overheard that conversation were the longest of my life. I went through the motions. Amelia came into the office later that night, kissed me on the forehead, and said she was heading to bed. She didn't notice the look in my eyes. She didn't see that the man she was saying goodnight to was not the same man who had been sitting there 2 hours earlier. My plan needed to be precise. It couldn't be emotional or chaotic. It had to be a series of logical, unavoidable consequences. She saw me as a simple landscaper, a man who worked with his hands. She forgot that my job is to literally reshape the earth, to see a barren patch of dirt and envision a finished project. I was about to apply that same skill set to my life. The first thing I did on Wednesday morning was call my lawyer. I explained the situation and told him what I'd overheard. I wanted to know my legal standing. We lived in my house, which I owned outright before meeting her. Her name was not on the deed. We had a joint savings account for the wedding, but most of our other finances were separate. He confirmed that my house was my sole property. He advised me to move 50% of the funds from the joint wedding account into a new personal account immediately to protect my share. I did it through my banking app before we even hung up the phone. Next, I did some research about her mother's 60th birthday party. She had told me it was a small family dinner. A quick search online revealed the truth. It was a massive catered event at a prestigious local art gallery. There was a guest list that read like the who's who of the local social scene. This wasn't just a party, it was a statement, and she was planning to attend alone, leaving her embarrassing fiancé at home. The anger was a clean, cold fuel. I spent the rest of the day setting the stage. I called a high-end car service, one that uses those black town cars you see in movies. I booked one for Friday afternoon. I contacted a premium moving and storage company and scheduled them for Friday morning. I told them I needed a team to pack the contents of 2 rooms and a bathroom and move them to a climate-controlled storage unit. I paid for the first 3 months in advance. On Thursday, I enacted my plan with Amelia. I came home from work with a bouquet of her favorite flowers. I told her I had a surprise. I know we've been stressed with the wedding planning, I said, putting on the performance of a lifetime, and I know your mom's party is this weekend. I want to do something special for us. I've booked a surprise romantic getaway, just the 2 of us. We'll leave Friday afternoon and return Sunday morning, just in time for you to see your mom on her actual birthday. Her eyes brightened. This was the language she understood: luxury, spontaneity, grand gestures. Oh my God, Matt. Where are we going? It's a surprise, I said, smiling. Just pack an overnight bag with something nice for dinner on Friday night. I'll take care of everything. She was ecstatic. She spent the next hour texting her friends, boasting about the surprise. I could practically hear Chloe and Isabella squealing through the phone. The simple man was learning. He was finally getting it right. On Friday morning, I took the day off work. I told Amelia I had some errands to run to prepare for our trip. As soon as she left for her office, the moving company arrived. They were fantastic, professional, efficient, and discreet. In 3 hours, every single item that belonged to Amelia was gone from my house. Her clothes from the closet, her products from the bathroom, the art she had hung on the walls, the ridiculous collection of throw pillows on the couch. They packed it all with meticulous care. When they finished, they handed me a key to the storage unit and an inventory list. The house was mine again. It was quiet. It was clean. Then I changed the locks, all of them. At 4 o'clock that afternoon, the black town car pulled into my driveway. Amelia arrived home a few minutes later, buzzing with excitement, carrying her perfectly packed overnight bag. Her friends, Chloe and Isabella, were with her. They had apparently decided to come over to see her off and get all the details. They were sitting on my couch sipping champagne they had brought when I walked in. The car is here, I announced with a smile. Amelia jumped up and hugged me. I'm so excited. Where are you taking me? Her friends were watching, their eyes sparkling. This was the kind of story they loved. I walked her to the front door carrying her bag. The driver, a professional in a black suit, was holding the rear door open. Have an amazing time, I said, handing her the bag. She looked puzzled. Aren't you coming? No, I said, my smile never faltering. This is for you. I leaned in and kissed her on the cheek. It's time you met your family. Her confusion deepened. Chloe and Isabella were now standing in the doorway, their smiles fading. I handed the driver an envelope. Then I gave Amelia a second envelope, a thick, expensive one with her name written on it. This should explain everything, I said. Have a safe trip. I turned around, walked back into my house, and closed the door. I locked the deadbolt. I could hear their bewildered voices outside. I went to the living room window and watched as the driver, following his instructions, closed the door and got into the car. Amelia stood there for a moment, looking at the envelope in her hand, then at my closed door. Then she got into the car. Chloe and Isabella were left standing in my driveway, looking utterly confused as the car drove away. The first part of my plan was complete. Update 2. The silence in the house after that black car drove away was the loudest thing I've ever experienced. Chloe and Isabella stood in my driveway for another 5 minutes calling Amelia's phone, then mine. I didn't answer. Eventually, they got in their car and left, probably to start a frantic group chat titled, "What Just Happened?" I poured myself a whiskey and sat down to wait. I knew the real storm wouldn't hit for at least another hour. Let me tell you what was in those 2 envelopes. The one I gave the driver contained his instructions and a generous tip. His destination was the art gallery where Amelia's mother's party was being held. His instructions were to drop Amelia off directly at the main entrance, hand her a final small envelope from the glove compartment, and then leave immediately. The envelope I gave Amelia contained a multi-page letter. I had spent 2 days writing it. It was calm, rational, and brutal. It started with her own words, quoted verbatim. "I'd never let him meet my extended family. He's too embarrassing." I explained that I had overheard her conversation with her friends. I clarified that I now understood my role in her life, a provider to be kept hidden, a project to be honed after the wedding. I told her that I was saving her the trouble of hiding me any longer. I was officially removing myself from her life so she could be with her family, the people she wasn't ashamed of. I detailed the cancellation of our engagement. I informed her that her belongings were now in a secure storage unit and the key was in the small envelope the driver would give her upon arrival. I told her the locks on my house had been changed and that she was no longer welcome there. I closed the letter by wishing her the best in finding a partner she wouldn't be embarrassed by. The second part of the plan was already in motion. While she was in that car reading that letter, an insured courier was on his way to her father's office. The package contained both engagement rings, the one I had bought for her and the one she had insisted I wear as a symbol of our equal commitment. It also included a short formal note from me. "Dr. Anderson, I am returning these to you. It seems the commitment they were meant to symbolize was not mutual. Amelia has made her choice, and I am respecting it. I apologize for how this may affect your family. Sincerely, Matt." Timing was everything. She would arrive at that party reeling from the letter just as her father was receiving a package that confirmed every word of it. She would have no room to lie, no way to spin the narrative. She would be trapped in a cage of her own making, surrounded by the very people she was so eager to impress. Around 6:30, my phone began to explode. It was a tidal wave of notifications. Dozens of missed calls from Amelia, from her mother, from numbers I didn't recognize. Texts poured in a chaotic stream of consciousness. "How could you do this to me? You left me here. Everyone is staring. My father is furious. You've ruined everything. Let me in the house right now, you psycho. Please, Matt. It was a joke. I didn't mean it. My life is over. I hope you're happy." Then came the messages from Chloe and Isabella. They were vicious. They called me every name in the book, a monster, a gaslighter, a manipulative coward. They accused me of planning this all along, of trapping Amelia. According to them, I was the villain for reacting to her betrayal while she was the innocent victim of a misunderstanding. I read every single message. I didn't reply to any of them. I just sat there, watching the digital collapse of a life I had thought was mine. The true satisfaction wasn't in her panic. It was in the silence from my end. It was in my refusal to engage in the drama she had created. I had made my move. Now all I had to do was let the consequences unfold. I ordered a pizza, put on a movie, and turned my phone on silent. The next day, I learned what had happened at the party. A friend of mine has a cousin who works for the catering company handling the event. The story was already becoming legendary. Amelia had arrived in a black car, dressed for a romantic dinner, and had been dropped off alone at the curb. She had stumbled into the gallery in tears, clutching a letter just as her father was opening a package containing 2 engagement rings. The scene was apparently spectacular. Her mother trying to usher her into a side room. Her father, a man known for his icy demeanor, turning a shade of purple, whispers spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Amelia had wanted to avoid embarrassment. Instead, I had delivered it to her on a silver platter at the one place in the world she valued most, in front of her family and their entire social circle. On Sunday, the attack shifted. The direct, frantic messages ceased, replaced by a more insidious strategy. The social media campaign began. Vague posts from Chloe and Isabella started appearing about toxic men and hidden abuse in relationships that seem perfect on the outside. Amelia posted a single picture of a tear rolling down her cheek with the caption, "Sometimes you don't know what you're escaping until you're free." #Survivor. They were attempting to rewrite history. They were trying to frame me as an abuser. It was a disgusting, calculated move, and I knew I had to shut it down, but again, not with public drama. With precision. I recalled something. About a month ago, Amelia had been complaining about her phone storage being full. I had helped her back up all her photos and videos to her laptop. I had a hunch. I went to her old laptop, which she had left behind. It was password protected, but she always used the same password for everything, the name of her childhood pet. I was in within seconds. I went to her voice memos, and there it was. She was one of those people who recorded conversations, a habit I always found strange. She had a recording labeled, "Girls' Night Wine." I listened to it. The entire conversation from that Tuesday night was there. Her laughter, her calling me embarrassing, her talk of training me, Isabella's comment about mulch, Chloe's suggestion to trade up. It was all there, clear as day. I edited the recording down to the most damning 60-second clip. I didn't post it online. I just sent it to two people. First, to Isabella's fiancé, a finance guy I'd met a few times. My message was simple. "Hey Tom, thought you might want to hear what your future wife and her friends discuss when they think no one is listening." Second, I sent it to Amelia's father. My email to him read, "Dr. Anderson, I have no desire to make this a public spectacle. However, Amelia and her friends have initiated a public campaign to depict me as an abuser. This is a recording of the conversation that led to my decision to end the engagement. This is the truth in her own words. I will not release this publicly, but I will defend my reputation if forced to. I suggest you advise your daughter to cease." The social media posts were deleted within 3 hours. The smear campaign was over before it even began. Checkmate. Final update. It's been 4 months since the night of the party. Life has returned to a quiet, steady rhythm that I hadn't realized I was missing so much. The anger has mostly faded, leaving behind a kind of calm resolution. I wanted to write this final update to close the book on this chapter for myself as much as for anyone who has followed this story. The weeks immediately following the implosion were a strange mix of chaos and silence. After I sent that audio clip, the communication from Amelia and her friend ceased completely. It was like a switch was flipped. The power dynamic had shifted. I had the truth recorded in her own voice, and they knew it. The threat of that truth going public was enough to enforce a ceasefire. I heard through the grapevine what happened next. Isabella's engagement to Tom is off. Apparently, hearing his fiancée laugh while discussing another man as a project to be trained did not sit well with him. He saw it as a massive red flag about her character and her friends, and he ended it. Chloe is still with her husband, but I heard they went through a very rocky period. Her involvement in the smear campaign and the general toxicity of that friend group apparently opened his eyes to a few things. Amelia's life, from what I gather, has been completely turned upside down. She is still living with her parents. Her father, a man who values reputation above all else, was